Hello, students, and we are on our part two. So, we are already done with this first six health environment issues, and we will be discussing the rest. So, we have the ethical issues surrounding therapy, issue on cutting of trees, issue on mining, issue on malnutrition, issue on the use of mobile phones, issue on Philippine sports. So let's start with the ethical issues surrounding gene therapy. So what is gene therapy? Before we go to the issues, let's start to define what this is. So it is an experimental technique that uses genes to treat or prevent disease. So for example, this is your cell, and in your cell, if you remember your biology, you have the DNA, the RNA, and the DNA. So the DNA contains your genes. So what does gene therapy do? They get your sample gene. So for example, this is your cell, and then kuan og DNA sample, the gene, and then corrected in the laboratory. So for example, this is a defective gene, and then i-correct ang gene. And the corrected gene outside your body in the laboratory, and then injected to you. And then that gene would infect the defective gene. So it corrects the other genes. Okay. In the future, this technique may allow doctors to treat a disorder by inserting a gene into a patient's cells instead of using drugs or surgery. Because gene therapy involves making changes to the body's set of basic instructions, it raises many unique ethical issues. When you say ethics, the morality of such activity. So the ethical questions surrounding gene therapy include: how can good and bad uses the gene therapy be distinguished? Because when you say it corrects the defective, the bad genes, it transforms it into to good genes. But who can distinguish what is good and what is bad, right? Because in religious setting, the bad things are part of the good, no? So this is one of the basic questions with regard to gene therapy. Who decides which traits are normal and which constitute a disability or disorder? Like for example, your height. So katong mga mugbo is considered defective and katong tag-as are normal? Is it being a short stature a disability? Or how about what else? The skin color. So who decides which traits are normal and which constitute a disability or disorder? We cannot accept what God gave us. Will the high cost of gene therapy make society less accepting of people who are different? Because those who can do or apply for gene therapy are the rich, because it is very costly. So nanapod ang social discrimination. Should people be allowed to use gene therapy to enhance basic human traits such as height, intelligence, or athletic ability? So, i-manipulate man ang genes, so anything can happen. Pwede i-manipulate ang imuhang IQ or the athletic ability, just like the Matrix, install ra ang traits Keanu Reeves. In this picture, this is our blood. This is the red blood cells. This is the normal shape of our blood, our red blood cells. And this one is what we call the sick cell. It's an abnormal red blood cell. That's why this condition is called sickle cell anemia. So, with this disorder, pwede ang gene therapy, because it's a disorder, it's a defective jud ang gene. Current gene therapy research has focused on treating individuals by targeting the therapy to body cells, such as bone marrow or blood cells. So just like what I said, the main focus of gene therapy is the bone marrow and blood cells. But then, once the therapy is successful, dili na pod malikayan sa katong mga elites na they want to have blue eyes, or they want to change their natural traits. So that it goes along with it. So mo po na, because of our human dissatisfaction, insatiable insatiable wants. So this type of therapy cannot be passed to a person's children. So if it's focused on the body cells, such as bone marrow and blood cells, because there are like leukemia, the bone marrow is the one that is affected. Ang bone marrow is the one that produces our red blood cells. So kung abnormal ang bone marrow, it also produces abnormal blood cells. And so you have leukemia or the sickle cell anemia. This type of therapy cannot be passed to a person's children because we are using the body cells. According to the findings of some study, the immune system may respond, leading to inflammation due to inserted virus. Virus vector may target genes other than infected ones. So virus vector may lead to further health problems. So dagang pang issues with regard to gene therapy, because it may target the immune system, which may lead to inflammation. The same with kabantay mo ng bata nga gi-vaccinate. After vaccination, maghilantan sila, or they would have other reaction. That is inflammation of the immune system because of the inserted virus. Because in vaccination, virus man na attenuated live virus, meaning buhi nga virus pero gi-weaken siya. There's another gene therapy that is called germline therapy. This targets the eggs and sperm cells, or what you call the germ cells, thus can be passed to future generations. So target niya ang germ cells. They have the egg and the sperms. Egg sa bayi and sperm sa laki. So this is the one that creates human beings. So if these cells are being targeted, then it can be passed on to future generations. So just like for example, an elephant, imong i-correct ang iyahang skin, and you will target the germ cells of the elephant. Kani nga color niya would be transferred to the elephant's offspring. That is just an example. So if you get what I mean. The idea of germline gene therapy is very controversial. While it could spare future generations in a family from having a particular genetic disorder, it might affect the development of fetus in unexpected ways or have long-term side effects that are not yet known, because people who would be affected by germline gene therapy are not yet born. They can't choose whether to have the treatment or not. So like you're deciding for the health of sa imong bata, and like wala na sila choice because it's already been done. So lisod kaayo. In the Philippines, there are reports that only few people could avail the costs of gene therapy use because it's very expensive. Okay, so there are articles that says it's a modern monster, the lasting legacy of Frankenstein. If you know do you know who Frankenstein is? Then you would understand. If not, Google it. So the idea of germline gene therapy is controversial. Would you want to avail gene therapy? What are your thoughts? Okay, let's go to an environmental issue, the cutting of trees. So look at how our forests looks like now. Daga ng mga kabang. If you see Sikihor, makita ninyo ang dako nga kabang. Also, Mount Talinis. That is because of illegal cutting of trees. So, Republic Act number 3571 prohibits the cutting of trees and other ornamental plants which have been planted along public roads and in plazas for beautification purposes, versus the nationwide effort to improve the economy by facilitating flow of people, goods, and services through capital investments in widening roads and bridges. After investing so much money adding 2 extra lanes and widening the bridge, Traffic has not improved a bit because of the mango and acacia tree along the road that remains standing obstructing the traffic. Supposedly, dili unta na siya putlon. But then, maka-obstruct kitungod gipadak-an, naa na sa tunga ang kahoy, dili unta na putlon, but then mo pud na maka health ish maka kuan na noon accident prone na noon so manang putlon. The Presidential Decree of 705 or the Revised Forestry Code of the Philippines states that trees in private lands may only be cut with permission from the DNR. So dapat na ay cutting permit. So just like this, naa na siya sa tunga sa dalan. So manang supposedly if kung kani nga Republic Act number 3501 dira ra gud unta ni nga kahoy. Pero naa na po yung presidential decree na pwede as long as i-permit sa DNR. Worse, the permit to cut trees is separated from the permit to transport. So nahipod ang permit to transport. And this has been a big issue to resolve kay na ay mga red tapes, bayad-bayad, and all that. Remember, a nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. By Franklin D. Roosevelt. We should heed to this, but I hope the government would also open their eyes. Now let's go to the issue of log ban. The Philippines is among the countries with the highest deforestation rates. It has only around 7 million hectares of forest land left. Kamay lang kayo. Pila atong land area. The Philippine government continues to issue permits to big logging companies that cut down trees for commercial use and export. So muna, kaning mga tao nga nagputol, gamay kaayo og sweldo, and baling mahala ang kahoy. They're not giving justice to the people who are doing the hard work. Katurang ang mga dagkong company, they're the one that's benefiting this cutting of trees, and the workers are sacrificing as well as our mother earth. And landslides are one of the effects of illegal logging, and it has been reported in the news and that daganang nangamatay o accidents, natural calamities because of illegal logging and abuse of environment than mga viruses. Effects of illegal logging: damage to property, infrastructure, and agriculture from floods. The floods have displaced 262 and 107 families, or some 1.355 million individuals. During the Aquino time, he made the admission that a log ban could not be enforced immediately. He said that the DNR and logging firms should first come to an agreement that it would affect the small-time sawmills. So wala siya ni approve of log ban. Arroyo, he laid down total ban on logging activities in the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. That's why Greens pa kaayo ang Muslim Mindanao because of this, because of Arroyo's order. How about President Estrada? He said in his SONA that he would implement a total log ban during his first SONA, but no policy on law was created. Ramos carried the policy of selective illegal logging, where in areas were identified to allow logging under the concept of sustainable development. But it's very difficult to define sustainable development because when you remove the trees, it's not really sustainable. Because maapektahan ang environment. How about President Duterte? He has ordered the creation of tripartite committee, so 3 parties that would study the implementation of a total log ban in the country. Aside from that, he has no definitive move undertaken with regard to illegal logging. The Catholic Church have already supported a call for a total log ban. So yeah, up to now, it's still an issue. Now let's go to the issue of mining. But Before we discuss the issues of mining, let us know what mining first. So things to know about mining in the Philippines. So that you'll have an idea anong issue maning mining. Dako ang kwartang makuhaan eh. So we'll find out. But so that was mining. That was all about mining. So dako kayo ang money that is involved in mining because when you mine the metallic and non-metallic, the value of gold and other minerals under our earth and rich kaayong atong soil. That's why dagang kayong nag-apply for mining transactions. And dako kayo, we are talking about billions. And under this mining are the politicians. They have their own mining companies and all that. So it's very difficult to remove this. And it is very obvious that it can destroy our environment. Just like this. This was landslide sa Gimay na area, so it doesn't really give a good benefit to our earth, our land. And even if katong sa video, some of the mining industries are planting trees and all that, but when it's just very superficial. The report in Mining in the Philippines argues that mining is being developed at a speed and in a manner likely to cause massive long term environmental damage and social problems, including environmental and health. Speed because dako kay money. When there is money involved, then you have the problems here. There is this one documentary that I want you to watch. Please remind me of that. So there are already two documentaries that I want you to watch. The previous one that I mentioned in first video, and this one. Uh, it's about money, history of money. You follow the money. So it's also part of history because the money has been part of our life. It is a human invention, right? It's not God did not invent money. We invented money, and what happened, what causes money, what are the effects of money. So that talks about following the money. So that documentary, it was and it still is an eye opener to me and to my friends. And I want you students to also watch it because I want you to be aware of what's happening around the world. So remind me to share that to you. And the report finds that current mining plans will undermine the government's own strategy for sustainable development by destroying or severely damaging critical ecosystems, including the watersheds, rivers, ecosystems, and important agriculture production areas. Implementation of the proposed mining plan will bring insufficient benefits to the Filipino people. Kay ang katurang maka-benefit jud ang katong mga big businesses. Corruption is a serious problem in the Philippines. We know that. When you say what is the main issue, the first thing that comes in our mind is corruption. And it can be expected that plans for extensive mining operations in remote areas requiring licensing regulation and monitoring will make it worse. Okay? The red tape, tagaan ra og uh, envelope with money ang people in charge. Mo change na dayon. Permits here, permits there. And the Philippines currently faces a crisis of extrajudicial killing. We know that. But this is not just katong sa drug war on drugs. It has been an issue with the activists, mga environmental activists, katong who really protests for the mining industries. So there has been 700 activists, including civil rights and environmental advocates, who have been killed. And even here in the in Negros, katong mga recent personalities that were killed, they were also an environmental activists. So recommendations from that report. The Philippine government should cancel all current mining applications that will inevitably cause major environmental damage to critical watersheds, ecosystems, agriculture, or fisheries, and result in social disruption. It should be cancelled. It should be cancelled. But then the government did not, and that's the reason why the former DNR secretary resigned. I think it was Gina Lopez. He was really passionate about our country. Nabuol siya sa politics. And look at if you look at our rivers, kung mag-inani na na something's wrong. No, na yung mga illegal activities in the mountain. The Philippine government should revoke the Mining Act of 1995 and enact alternative legislation that more effectively protects the interest of the affected local communities, indigenous people, and the environment. The World Bank Group should halt its promotion and support for mining expansion in the Philippines under current conditions. But you say World Bank, they are the bearer of money, and asa man ilang i-prioritize kato maka-generate of money. So disregarding the effect in our environment, it's very sad. All mining projects should be inspected by reputable independent organizations before investment. So these are the recommendations, and this has been the one gina-push sa mga activists. Okay. Going to another issue, the issue of malnutrition, a health issue. So what do you see in the picture? A child na makita na ang bones with a bit of bloated tummy. So they are an example of a malnourished children. Poor nutrition remains a major problem in the Philippines, with 3.4 million children found to be stunted and over 300,000 underweight, all under 5 years old. A relatively modest, so supposedly, kung logically thinking, if the country is increasing the GDP, supposedly mo improve pud unta ang social progress, ang social indicator mo improve pud unta ang lives of the society in that country. But in our country, wala. The Philippines is still the ninth among the countries with the highest prevalence of stunted kids, has had slow progress in addressing the issue. That is from this source. And the government created a sizing up program na magpakaon sila og mga bata. But based on Food Nutrition and Research Institute data as of 2015, stunting or chronic malnutrition rate among children is now at 33.4%. Ako kayo siya in a 100%. 30% is almost a quarter and are expected to shoot up by 2030 if the government does not boost support for social services. So, say 33%, it's like 3 out of 10 children are in chronic malnutrition. Imagine that, 3 out of 10. Lower income countries like Vietnam and Cambodia are even faring better than the Philippines. Only 23% of the children are stunted in Vietnam and 32.9% in Cambodia. So mas kuan pagani sila kaysa sa Philippines. And according to the study, 20% of death among children under 5 years old are due to poor health services. So it's like 2 out of 10 death among children are due to poor health services. So kamo, if you have in the future, if you'll be earning dollars or maybe pesos, or you'll be a politician or what, and you are blessed with resources, do something with our health services, especially though towards the kids because they are the future of our land. Okay, now let's go to the issue on the use of mobile phones. Nagka na kayong nanggawas ng phones, kano sa man kasugod ang spike increase of mobile phones. And there are many issues. We've tackled the issue in socio-economic with the mobile phones because emotionally and bullying and all that, and pornography that could also lead to overpopulation and that. And this one is another issue. Mobile phone devices give off harmful radiations which affect the human health because such type of radiations are available everywhere and their existence cannot be felt because we cannot see it, because we cannot feel it. We don't believe that it happens, it exists. These radiations also penetrate in the body and they affect the cell and the DNA. Just like your X-ray, yun ang mga X-ray, they are also radiations. They are radiations. And di ba, kung magpa-X-ray mo na ay metal na naka-block or dili pwede ang pregnant kay it can penetrate into the cell and maka-cause unya og mutation sa fetus. The same with mobile phones. It has radiations that could penetrate and affect the cell structure of the DNA. So more about the health risk of mobile phone, I'm sharing you a video that you should watch on YouTube.